Welcome back once again to the whitchermath channel. Thanks for watching. Here's a little tutorial about some manipulatives or some hands-on things that we use in the classroom, both before algebra and even during algebra and later. These can be very useful, hands-on way to learn about algebra. So, what am I talking about? Bam, look at that. Nice. Ta-da! I'm talking about algebra tiles. Okay, so this is just a basic lesson of what we use here in my classroom, but which you see in classrooms all over the world. And this particular set has 6 different shapes. Each shape has 2 sides. We'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, let's look at the shapes. We got a big square, a smaller square, and a smaller square. And we have a long skinny rectangle, a not so long skinny rectangle, and a not so skinny rectangle. Okay, so those are the 6 different shapes. And let me just label them right here on screen, and then we can talk about how they relate to each other. Now, first of all, let's start with the little guy, and I'm going to flip it over so I can actually write on it. Don't do this in class, please. This is for instructional purposes only. But this little guy is called a 1, and the reason it's named that, it's called a unit tile, or a 1, okay? And it's because we are defining the name of each tile by its area. Okay? So if I've got this unit tile, and we've just decided, hey, this side is 1 and that side is 1, what is the area? And of course it's 1 times 1, which is 1 square unit. So it takes on the name 1. Now we're going to come up with the names of all the other units in relation to that. So let's start with the small one here. This little guy. Now let's start with the long one. I'll explain why in a minute. So we got this little guy. And you'll notice that the 1 matches up exactly with one edge of it. Okay, so that's nice. So if we're trying to figure out the area of this thing, we know it's going to be 1 times some unknown number. And generally, x is our go-to variable. And a variable is just a letter that represents some unknown quantity, okay? So we got our variable on one side and our number on the other. So the area of this thing is 1 times x, which is x. So we're going to call this x. All right. Now we're cruising. And I'm loving my whiteboard / table here. It's pretty sweet. I found an old whiteboard, I cut it up and screwed it down onto an old nasty table, and bam, we're set. Now, let's continue here. If I take big square, notice big square has one side that's x, and it has another side that's x. After all, it's a square, right? So to find the area of a square, we just take any of the sides, since they're all the same, and multiply, right? X times x, that's the area of a square, multiply 2 sides. And since we don't know what that is, it's not a number, it's just called x squared. Literally a square created with x as the side lengths. Okay, so we're looking good, and we're seeing how all the ones relate and how these shapes connect. Okay, so this square leads us to the not so skinny rectangle. Notice how one edge of the rectangle here is x, right? That is side length x. There it goes. And we're going to make a connection here because we've got to figure out the area of this thing to have its name. X times what? Well, we have this other side over here. It's some unknown quantity. It's not x, right? Because it's shorter than x. So what can we possibly call it? And in, excuse me there, woo, need some more coffee. In the world of algebra, our next go-to is going to be y. If x is all used up, we have some other quantity that's different from x. We call it y. And so x times y, we're just going to get rid of that guy there. And we call it xy. And hopefully understand why. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shapes accounted for here, which brings us to this one. I'm glad there isn't like 15 shapes because they wouldn't fit on the screen, but this is working out pretty good. Take a wild guess what this piece is called. Go ahead, guess. No one can hear you. Right! It's called y. Why is it called y? Here's why. If we put a 1, once again, don't draw on these in class. This is just fun to do. There we go. If that's a 1, that side is 1. Oh, smudge. Sorry. I should use the dry erase marker. Okay, sorry, you can't see that. I'll put the 1 right there. Okay, if that side is 1, and we already know that this side here is y, therefore, since it's a rectangle, this side is also y. This is 1 times y, which equals y. Same way we came up with the x up here, right? So it was 1 times an unknown number. This is 1 times a different unknown number. So this is called y. And finally, do we have anything left? Yep, we do have one left here. Okay, so since that's y, and this y corresponds exactly with one side of this square, if you look up at that purple guy there, I think you'll know what this one's called. Go ahead, take a guess. Right! This one is y squared because y times y, right? We're naming these for their area. There, so we have our names all set up. And let's clean this thing up and give you a little quiz very quickly. Throw a piece of graph paper down to cover that up. Here we go. Here's your quiz. What is that? Name this piece. Name this piece. Are you with me so far? Don't worry, I'll give you the answers. What's this piece? Here's one more. And here is one more. Well, hopefully you did this. Hopefully you said, this is x squared. I really apologize for all the throat clearing. I know it's annoying. Believe me, it's more annoying to me. Here we go. This one's just called x. This one is a unit tile, so we're going to call it 1. A unit tile, 1 unit. This one is called a y. This one is xy. And this one is y squared. Hey, I'm going to make another video that talks about negative and positive values. Okay. because you may have noticed while I was messing around here that these have two colors, and you may have wondered, what does that mean? Well, it definitely does mean something, and one side is positive, one is negative, and we'll get to that in another video. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the classroom, whether it's live or online. Thank you so much for watching whitchermath. Take it easy.